I've never been back because, like those magazines, it made me feel like I was just that job.
2 years.
And now, every time I'm on Facebook, I shut it off, I'm like, it's not happening at my place, I want to hear about it.
It's so hard, it is.
So
I
much.
see. I know.
The his drama of it.
Yes.
And it's just getting worse. Like,
But
it's so.
You
It's
know,
just getting worse
I
and
have
worse.
jolly balls out there,
Yeah.
you know, like, awful,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Like this.
But I don't have time to swallow it.
Right.
Distribute about the one, the dog at the town, just like, oh.
No.
I started crying, and I'm like, I'm done with Facebook. Oh.
You gotta filter your Facebook. It's only positive.
So all balls.
Wow, were they living in the seventies?
Just for.
All of them.
Until I get over it.
Yes. All of them. 160.
We lived in Laurel's.
I see.
Training and that for freaking
Yeah, trouble, I'm
15
sorry.
days.
No, it'd be fun.
Yeah, not that whole life, I was just kind of like.
It's entitled, it's just inappropriate,
Over voting.
not that way, just no filter. Right?
7:30.
Sean's ready to call the order.
I'm ready.
Alright. So, I'm Sean Wadsworth, Chair of the Albany Planning Board, call the meeting to order at 6:30, according to my clock. And, we'll just go around the room and, introduce, so Sean Wadsworth, Chair of the Planning Board.
Kathy Golding, Selectman Representative.
Curtis Bowman, planning board.
Brian Bailey, planning board.
Morris West, alternate planning board. Peter Carboni, planning board.
Christy Martell, interested buyer of an Albany property.
Danielle McCormick, Christie's wife.
What's your last name?
McCormick.
And let me know if I'm spelling things correctly.
No.
Danielle is DANYELLE.
My glasses on.
Oh, sorry.
C-A-N-Y.
ELLE. McCormick. And my name is Frank.
Cindy Carboni, owner of Albany Pet Care.
Graydon Turner, Realtor.
G-R-A-D-O-N.
Greydon, and I didn't bring my glasses either, so I'm gonna assume you got that.
I got an extra pair.
It doesn't work this way either.
And I'll just appoint Morris as a voting member for the meeting.
Peter Carboni, I recuse myself.
When we get, yeah.
Well, can I stay in the meeting until that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also the secretary, so this is the way it goes. You gotta wait for me to type. All right, not too much on the agenda, so we'll just go right to it. We have a preliminary consultation for map 6, lot 114. Oh yes, Peter, you want to recuse yourself at this point?
You're recusing myself.
Preliminary consultation for map 6, lot 114 for Christy Martell, interested buyer in Albany Pet Care, and we have the owners of Albany Pet Care here. Wonderful. And let's see. I have the preliminary consultation here, so I can pull it up to share it with the board members who haven't probably seen all this.
I have a paper copy.
Paper copy,
Like
please
you
to pass it around. I was
pass it
hoping to
around?
come in to print some stuff out ahead of time, but that didn't happen. So, Mr. Martell, Parade Road, Meredith, owns the Four Paws Inn and is interested in Albany Pet Care, Auntie Cindy's Albany Pet Care. Structures on the property, horse barn, house, I should put my glasses on. House, horse barn, DOT buildings.
Outbuildings.
Outbuildings.
She has little buildings where some of the dogs hang out.
on the state road and see attached for the description. So, you have a copy to read. Do you want to read your?
You would just want me to tell you what
Sure.
I want to do?
Yes.
My name is Christy Martell. I own a doggy daycare in Meredith. I am looking to expand. Auntie Cindy's place is for sale. I've looked at her file with you guys and she's approved for grooming and some boarding associated with grooming.
Yep.
I'm here to hopefully buy her property and expand the business. I want to provide daycare, overnight boarding, and grooming.
Yep.
I'd have 5 to 6 employees. It's cage-free all day, playtime. I have a place in Meredith that I've had for 9 years, that's very successful. The different things about waste. Eventually, I'd like to put canine grass in there, which is like AstroTurf for dogs. I'd like to make it a premier facility for the area. I mostly focus on local business for daycare and boarding. You want me to keep going? Basically, I just want to make sure that if I purchase this, I can provide daycare, boarding, and grooming. Whereas right now, it really only allows for grooming. I don't plan a lot of traffic issues. I tried to expand in Meredith and I was denied a variance over there.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at other places to try to expand. I'm hoping maybe even my multimodal clients would come over here and use this space. I want to cater to the working people, sorry. Waste goes in the dumpster. Bad dogs are kicked out, so dogs that bark or cause a nuisance, we do kick them out. It's almost like a private daycare for dogs.
Yep.
Is what it is. All dogs are vaccinated, up to date, current. I have online scheduling. Everything, can be, if there's a bite, we can handle it right away.
One of the concerns, I represent Cindy and Peter as the selling agent. One of the concerns we had is that their use is boarding facilities, some grooming facilities and so forth, and they've been doing this since how long, Peter?
That's a question. We applied for the grooming part of it in 2003. We were doing the daycare and overnight before that, but we could only have up to 5 dogs because that was a household pet quota at the time. It may be the same. So when we had a route, as it says here, most of our business was done at home, but we obviously got too big and we had to bring them home. We used the pens and stuff. We didn't do grooming then. We were doing overnight and daycare for probably 3 years. Then we decided she was going to get into grooming, but she had to quit her day job and go to school.
So I have a copy of this. from
Yeah, this is
2003.
it. And it said, we did admit that we had already existed. And we did say that most of the services are carried out in other people's homes, not all of them.
Yeah.
But because we each had full-time jobs and a 1-year-old and her mother, we could only take them home on a limited basis. But we were doing daycare and overnight stay before we applied for the grooming.
I'm hoping to be grandfathered in.
Yeah.
I would like to be grandfathered in to continue Auntie Cindy's as a daycare, boarding, and grooming facility, make it bigger, make it better, make it modern, and contribute to the community.
That was my concern as relative to was that that this could continue with the ongoing use that it is now. Obviously, Christie's going to come in and upgrade it and do some of the things that Peter and Cindy won't want to do at this point because they're done and they want to get to Florida.
Yeah.
But so our concern, at least my concern is, are you guys going to allow this use to continue, which has been ongoing since somewhere around 2003 or 2004?
No, 2003 is when we applied for the grooming part of it.
Yeah.
You were already established.
Several years ago. Yes, we can. But I would like to clarify one other thing. I went to a planning board selectman meeting to get a permit for the bond. But before that, I called Frank Wolf to find out what I had to do for the bond.
Yeah.
And he said because it was under 1,200 square feet, I needed to go to the planning board to get a building permit. At the time, I didn't have the knowledge I have about what to do. what was his name, the older guy? Anyways, I explained to the board, with Dan Sedankus,
Jack Rose.
Jack Rose. I said, this is a barn / hay storage / holiday resort for dogs, because on holidays, we would get up to 30, 40 dogs. And the barn provided, we left the horses out and we provided that. And at that time, we were using the round pen, also as a pen, we had wire on it. Since then, I rebuilt it, but I haven't put wire because I want to save money and put solid. So that was not a use of horse barn only, and I made it clear. And Frank Wolf said, I didn't need to come to the planning board to build it. But it's been being used ever since for the business and for the spoiled horses.
And I would use the barn for the business as
Yeah.
well.
What do you guys think?
We got to go through some other things first, I think. Any other?
You have any questions for me?
Well, I have one other comment that, we made it perfectly clear that we were not a kennel. She made it adamant. If you look in her application, the first time I met her, she doesn't use the word kennel either.
Yeah.
We don't use the word kennel because a kennel, according to the Wolves to me, was the Frank and Lorraine Wolf were the people that ran it. Said a kennel, we got into this right here. We gotta make sure you're not kenneling dogs as in owning them, like as in puppy mill, owning the dogs. We don't own, and we assure them we don't own the dogs. We send them down the street, not meaning college, she didn't exist, meaning the Humane Society. They take ownership of a dog and then rehouse it. The example used here was a place down the street that wanted to kennel up to 20 breeding dogs.
Yeah.
And they were gonna be continuously having puppies. That was gonna turn into 70, 80 dogs. And the question was, what if they don't sell? And they were for personal protection, so there was this concern with the fencing. So we assured them we weren't going to be a kennel. We never said we were going to stop doing it. There was one comment made at that meeting about you just servicing the Tara Killer said, I think you're supposed to be just servicing the dogs you groom. And Dan Sedanka said, well, they can just clip a nail every day if the dog's there for 5 days. So, I mean, it was a humorous meeting and everybody fully understood. I just wish you had better notes that there was dogs there. And then Frank Wolf ended that and says, no, I mean, you own them. And I said, no, we don't. We never take a dog. Well, I shouldn't say that.
There's no
She does
breeding.
take dogs in.
Right, there's no breeding.
There's no breeding, no kennel, that's what they refer to as kenneling. I said, no, they're owned by other people. We keep them. One of the examples I use is there was somebody going to Disneyland to take their dog.
We provide a service.
There was discussion about limited use, but that's because we both work full time with a 1-year-old and her mother helping us. They specifically said they would not put a limit on it. That's what this reads. They said that as is, because we told them we were growing kind of fast. And they talked about putting a limit on the other place, Jarvis, of 20 breeding dogs. And Dan and there's another guy that owned the bar down the street, they said, no, let's leave it as is. And it was unanimously voted to leave it as is, so that we can grow.
Yes.
It was Jack Lear,
Jack,
the other one.
from the bar, yeah.
I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, when I read this, I'm like, this isn't, because it leaves out a lot of what the meeting was.
So I was just going to run through so that all the board members can see the past stuff, right? So, I'm sorry, this is.
Just before we get in, just have a question for you. I mean, to me, why are we even sitting here? I mean, this is a business that's selling. There's no change of use. I mean, just to save everybody time.
Yeah.
I hope that they buy this, build on, improve it, board dogs, clean dogs, great. But I don't think we really need to go through a big procedure here because, you know, if Beep Beep sold and it just did, they're not coming back in. If I sold my business, no one's coming in here to ask for permission to run that business, and it's really none of the damn town's business. So I think we should just say, you don't need the site plan review. We hope you come in, buy it, have great success, make improvements so we can tax you more, and that's great. I mean, not to cut anybody off, but I just.
No, I second that emotion. There's no change in use. There's
No reason for a site plan for what?
I would also like to
Nothing.
stress the fact that we have multiple offers, and we want her to have it because it's so exact.
Yeah, but that's not even our business, Peter.
That's what I mean, but the other ones would even be here.
Peter,
But
Stop it, we're good.
their turn to talk.
But, you know, so as a board, I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I'll make a motion, but,
Well, let's hold on, I just have some other stuff to go over, but I agree. I mean,
I want it to be legit so that, you know, I have it
I
on
mean,
record.
this is the point why we're here, to make sure it's legit,
yeah, I understand that.
because they have questions of legitimacy.
No, I understand that,
So
but.
that's why we're
the
having
press.
this.
I mean, this business has been boarding and
Daycare,
doing daycare and cleaning dogs for a long time.
yes.
You know, so, you know, if some minutes from 20-something years ago say something that's gray, I don't really care, because they've been doing this and, you know, am I setting precedent, to be good to our taxpayers and businesses in town? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So that's my opinion on it, so.
I'll second that motion.
All right, any other board comments? Brian?
Just-
Lars?
As a quick glance, it looks like this process the Carbonis went through prior.
The what?
This process the Carbonis went through prior in 2003. So I would say the board has already determined the use.
Yeah.
That's,
Morris?
I understand, sounds good, but yes, let's make sure that we've gone through.
So this is just the background history, right? So this is what Peter's referencing, that in 2003, they had a preliminary consultation discussing, you know, the expansion and establishment of the business, right? And so they talked about a couple of things, but that it's a home business and that signs go to the select board. And at this time, the planning board said no formal site plan, but they were going to do design review. And so that's January. And then in February, or no, this is still January. That's the same note. Right, so then they, do I have another letter? 2003. Okay, so then February they opted for site plan review instead of design review. Right, so they had a site plan review. Here's the public hearing notes. It was opened, all fees were paid, abutters were notified. Whatever abutters commented that they're in support of it. The driveway permit is received, and the board unanimously approves the site plan.
The site plan for just the grooming? It doesn't, it's, okay, just approve the business use.
And then here's the site plan. Right, so that's the minutes. It just says they approved the site plan. Here's the actual notice of decision. Planning board approved the site plan application for Cindy Barnacote and Peter Cutroni to operate a dog grooming business
I think
at
I
their
spelled their
property.
names about 15 times wrong.
Yeah, has a layout, so existing layout. This was existing layout. You want
it's
to
the
build
same
it?
right now as it was
Right.
then, yeah.
Public notice.
It's about 900 square feet. So
And then there was a complaint or a question about boarding.
There are a couple of letters about it, I have those.
Is that what, I'm sorry. We're asking permission to speak.
I just want to run through this and then we'll just go to this stuff. So this is, can go attention about boarding. It's supposed to be grooming. From, let's see. Right, this is the selectmen. The planning board allowed you to keep the dog overnight for cosmetic treatments, blah, 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 grooming services. And boarding dogs and a site plan review through the planning board would be required. Please call your selectman's office to make an appointment with the selectman. So then they did come right after this. Oh, this is 2005, sorry.
So there's that complaint, and then in the select board meeting minutes, no, where's the vote? I don't know what's on this. DOT. Not that. Put it at the end. 2004. 2005. Why am I missing one? Peter, I'm trying to find the one that the planning board voted unanimously to as is. Do you have that one? I know I have it
This one?
somewhere, but.
No, that's the one he just went over. where-
No, I do have it, I have to go through my things. But, yeah, I have to find that one, that was
We
another
need the
one.
next one after this.
Yeah,
You have it in your notes.
I do.
Oh, here it is.
I-
Sorry. Yes, March 2004. So, right, so there's a complaint, and then here is Albany Planning Board minutes. Peter Carboni visits the board over concerns of compliance to site plan review and home occupation granted last year, concern over kennelling dogs. Peter said that grooming dogs sometimes entails having to keep them overnight.
Are you saying that's the plan, but that was the selectmen, that meeting?
But this is Albany Planning Board minutes.
Well, the complaint, I met with the selectmen.
The complaint was to the select board, but then when
Yeah.
it came back to the planning board, these are the planning board minutes. Very few dogs were involved, occasional overnight, situation compared to Jarvis, where they had 20 dogs allowed breeding. The planning board reviewed the situation, determined no further action was required at the time. Jack Wigan made a motion to leave the situation as is, seconded by Frank Wolf. The motion carried unanimously. So I just wanted to go through the what of what was the past, and they did, as they're saying and you're saying, give a site plan review for grooming with some boarding overnight. It was ill-defined, but it was some boarding. And then, had a complaint and then had this planning board minute where the planning board unanimously said it's okay as is.
Right.
So, really why we're here tonight is because the potential buyers want to make sure that boarding, grooming, and daycaring are legal and they're not going to get shut down after the fact. And so really all we're here to do is to say, do we agree that is a legal business or not, based on the past of our notes plus the 18 years of how things have been. So personally, I feel the same way that you're saying, Chris and Kathy. I don't have any argument with it, particularly because there was a complaint lodged. It did go back to the planning board, and the planning board already voted to say it's a legal business, leave it as is. It's ill-defined about some kenneling versus all the time kenneling, but if they wanted to define it better, they should have defined it better, and they didn't. So some kenneling is not like,
I was at the meeting and I believe it was defined perfectly, the notes weren't.
the notes weren't good. So I would make a motion to say the business is a legal existing business that has been doing boarding, kenneling, and daycare, and that was supported at the 2004 planning board meeting, and that it can be re-supported here just for clarification.
And are allowed for continuation.
Allow for continuation as is. That'd be the motion. And then any expansion beyond that, if, buildings require building permits and change of use may require site plan review, and it can be very expedited too if, really big project of scale, a really big thorough coming through, and small changes they're easier to expedite. Right? So
I'll second that.
that's the discussion. That's why we're here, and that's the point of it.
It's a dog grooming facility that boards dogs, and it's been allowed for a long time.
boarding, grooming, daycare has been
So
happening,
there's no
has been voted
restrictions.
on by the planning board already twice. Well, a second, well, it was clarified the second time basically, and we made that motion that we're just restating that that's a legal business as it.
I appreciate it.
So
Oh,
I
yes.
second it.
Second.
I second it.
Well, I just have a question though, is that Peter brought up the difference between boarding and kenneling, and I don't, kenneling is a legal business as well, depending on, right?
Right.
But I assume kenneling is breeding.
Well, I can tell you what conversations took place on that, is Frank Wolf said, we're not telling you you can't be a kennel, we're just asking you what you're doing. So he didn't say he's disallowing us from being, Cindy and I are not puppy mill people. We said, no, we're not. He said, he made it clear that he wasn't disallowing that and he wasn't disallowing the shelter. He just wanted to clarify what we were doing. We were doing the three things, same three things that are on our application. But he didn't say we couldn't do it. Made that clear. But it is in the notes.
There's a motion on the floor.
There's a motion on the floor. This is discussion for the motion. So Morris had a question about defining kennel. So in our ordinances, commercial dog kennels, page 85, it was an addendum passed after the site plan review that Albany Pet Care came for. So I think and Ms. Martell, I don't know if you've read this part for, going forward for your business, for the business. Past page 75. But you would want to read this.
What is this?
This is our town ordinances, and there is an addendum that specifically talks about kenneling.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I didn't just close it. I can find the page. That's towers.
I think it was 85.
Was it 85?
85
Thank you.
sounds familiar.
I really should just keep my glasses on. Okay. Zoning orange, commercial dog kennels, right? So this was adopted into the ordinance March 14th, 2006. So you want to read this for going forward, because this is in effect for dog kenneling going forward. So essentially what we're making a motion in a second, and we'll have a vote on, is as is, right? And then going forward, expansions, you would want to read through this because it would apply to expansions, I think. So the ordinance is adopted, majority vote, blah, blah, blah. Purpose and intent. And definitions. So here's a definition of commercial dog kennels from state RSA. Definition of breeders, definition of nuisance, menace, right? I'm not going to read through all of this because it doesn't apply to what we're talking about right now, because the motion and the as is all predates this. But
Okay.
I just want to bring this to your attention for
If I-
business in the town of Albany going forward. Right? And
Can you send me a copy of that?
sure,
It's online,
absolutely. It's
Okay.
online. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
under general information.
It's allowed in the commercial you're in the commercial zone.
Yep.
Dimensional stuff probably doesn't fit anymore.
I'm also a cage-free doggy daycare. We don't put them in kennels.
Yeah.
We have staff supervising them like a dog park. So kenneling is really, putting them in a space and leaving them. We're really not like that. At night, they're separated, but during the day, it's cage-free all day.
Good.
And I think they need to know that somebody will be living on the property.
And somebody will be living there, yes.
It's a
If
home.
there are dogs there will be a staff member.
Yeah, and so it's a home. It was approved as a home thing and has been
Home
run as a
business.
home thing
I,
the entire time. So that's part of the as.
Yeah, let's vote on this.
I,
It seems like it's-
Okay.
I'm satisfied, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Go run your business.
Thank you. I know. I had a very difficult situation in Meredith. To try to do this.
We're not Meredith, that's.
I know, I'm
for
so
sure.
glad I found you. It was awful. It was so awful.
I have a question.
We gotta just vote on
I
this.
think you guys
so-
have to vote, right?
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
to vote.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, all right, motion carries.
What's the
So-
motion?
I promise I'll make it brief. Do you then take the minutes from tonight to get put into the file, so if there's a future question, we know it's there, or do you guys just write something on the letterhead saying that this is approved occupation based on the meeting we had?
We'll just give you a
Use,
copy
excuse
of
me.
minutes.
Copy of the minutes.
That would be great, I just wanna make sure there's something in the
Yeah.
records,
We,
in case she ever needs to reference it
yeah,
again.
and actually maybe it'll go into their site plan review file too.
Well, thank you guys very much, we
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck on your next bit of business.
Keep in mind.
Hopefully it's brief.
Puppy mills in those type of places.
Good one, you're good. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
The,
Nice to see you.
The kennel? I've never heard something to like.
She was doing the German Shepherds on the street.
Oh, that's why.
Come on in,
Yeah,
Peter.
that's what.
I will bring a chair over here.
Charlie's like,
Oh,
German
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So, we're just gonna do minutes and wrap it up. There's not
Okay.
anything else really, so, previous minutes. August.
Motion to approve minutes from August.
I'll second. I'll second.
Do I need to say anything to be back in the meeting? Do I need to unrecuse?
Yes, I'm recuse yourself.
Okay, I unrecuse myself.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain as I wasn't here, but I read
Yes.
them over quickly and they looked fine to me, so.
Motion carries. Any other business? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn, anyone? You? Yes. Motion to adjourn, seconded by Kathy, and all in favor,
Aye.
adjourn. That's all. That's all. Yeah, not to be didactic, they just wanted, they wanted to make it as clear as possible that they weren't gonna get
Yeah,
screwed up.
it's just odd to me that